Today on Sporting Top 10, we'll be breaking down the top picks in the 2018 NBA Draft. And with the number one overall pick, the Phoenix Suns took DeAndre Ayton out of Arizona. Now, DeAndre Ayton is an offensive beast. He's above 7 foot and he's a beast. So we have great strength, and his offensive ability is second to none. His mid-range jumper, he has a great one. He's like Kevin Garnett, I feel like, with the mixture of Dwight Howard and his Orlando days. I feel like he could be a really good player. A weakness for him, though, is that he was the big man on campus in college because nobody could match up with him and his physical prowess. But I feel like that will be different. Guys like Hassan Whiteside, Rudy Gobert, and Joel Embiid will be out for him, have a target on his head, but he'll deal with it, I feel. And now, onto the Sporting Top 10 Stats Central. Devin Booker in 2017 averaged 24.9 points per game, 4.7 assists per game, 4.5 rebounds per game. I feel like those stats are only going to go up. He's a young player. He's just about to enter his prime. This duo of Ayton and Booker with the pick and roll maybe could be very lethal. And Josh Jackson, now he's going to be in his second year. He averaged 13.1 points per game, 1.5 assists, and 4.6 rebounds last year. Those are only going to go up too. And he's a defensive grinder out of Kansas, one of the blue blood schools. He knows what he's doing in basketball, and I feel like he's just going to grow. And then DeAndre Ayton stats at Arizona this past year, 21.1 points per game, 11.6 rebounds per game, 1.6 assists per game. He averaged that double-double. I feel like he'll have around team scoring in his first year and around 10 rebounds per game. So this draft grade I put is a B+, solid pick for the Suns. And with the number 2 overall pick, the Sacramento Kings selected Marvin Bagley out of Duke. Now Marvin Bagley, if you just look at his body type, he is the prototypical NBA player. His game could only grow. He has great athleticism. He's a decent shooter, streaky at some points, but that will only grow. But his weaknesses include defense. He is a defensive liability, and they need to improve on that, the Kings organization, if he wants to get to that next level as a player. And now on to the Sporting Top 10 Stats Central. His running mate in Sacramento will be De'Aaron Fox, second-year player, great slasher. I am a big fan of De'Aaron Fox. His game will grow. As last year, he averaged 11.6 points per game, 2.8 rebounds, and 4.4 assists. And also, one of the surprises of the draft came Bogdan Bogdanović. He won the Rising Stars game MVP. It was a shock to many, but Bogdan averaged 11.8 points per game, 2.9 rebounds per game, and 3.3 assists per game. Also, his partner in the front court in Sacramento will be Willie Cauley-Stein, WCS. And he averaged 12.8 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, and 2.4 assists per game. They could be a force to be reckoned with. And Marvin Bagley's stats last year at Duke, one of the best programs in the nation, 21 points per game, 11.1 rebounds per game, 1.5 assists per game. I give him a draft grade of a B+, just like Ayton. And Ayton and Bagley will be great for the Puma brand with Jay-Z. He also gets a B+ for this grade. And with the number 3 overall pick in the draft, the Dallas Mavericks selected Luka Doncic out of Real Madrid, Spain. Now, Luka Doncic, many people believe different things about him, but what I say is I'm just looking at the straight-up highlights and facts. He is a savvy scorer with a high basketball IQ and is dominated with grown men. He has won MVPs over in his EuroLeague. I feel like he will fit in, but some weaknesses is his athleticism. They say he's not as fleet as foot, and his defense will struggle because of that. But I feel like if you have a good on-ball guard, like a point guard, he'll play the shooting guard, he'll find his role, and he'll get some points. And now on to the Sporting Top 10 Stats Central. Now, like I was saying, with a good on-ball guard like Dennis Smith Jr., who averaged 15.2 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, and 5.2 assists, like Luka will find his role there in Dallas. Dirk's form roots. I feel like there's a bit of nostalgia with this pick. They got Dirk about 20 years ago. He arguably is the best foreign player of all time. They hope Luka could follow in his footsteps. And Luka at Real Madrid averaged 14.5 points per game, 5.2 rebounds per game, 4.6 assists per game. Now the reason I had this a bit lower on my draft grade, given the C+, because they traded up with the Hawks to get this pick, and they gave up a future first rounder. So this is a big risk, but could be high reward. With the 4th pick in the draft, the Memphis Grizzlies took Jaren Jackson out of Michigan State University. Now, the book on Jaren Jackson is that he's a superb athlete. He's just one of the best athletes in this draft. He's a good shooter. He's a bit streaky at sometimes, but that I think will improve with NBA level training. He's a prototype athlete because he's just long and lengthy, like a typical basketball player, and his defensive prowess is second to none in this draft. His weakness, though, is inside scoring. But since he's on the Grizzlies, Marc Gasol could help him a bit with that. And now on to the Sporting Top 10 Stats Central. Now, like I was saying, Marc Gasol only averaged about 17.2 points per game, 8.1 rebounds, and 4.2 assists. But he's more at the mentor state in his career. He had his prime, he's past that. He can still put up numbers, but his role on this team now will be mentoring Jackson. And Mike Conley, great defensive point guard. His 2017-18 stats included 17.1 points per game, 2.2 rebounds, 4.1 assists per game, and 1 steal per game. Jaren Jackson's stats at MSU this past year, 10.9 points per game, 5.8 rebounds per game, 1.1 assists, and that big one right there, 3 blocks per game. That draft grade, it's a solid pick, so I say it's a B. And with the number 5th overall pick in the draft, the Atlanta Hawks selected Trae Young out of Oklahoma. Now, the strengths of Trae Young, everybody knows he's a great shooter. He's lights out. He has in the gym range like Steph Curry. His handles are fantastic, his passing is good, and he could be a playmaker at the next level. The defensive end, though, is his weakness. Colin Sexton from Alabama was bodying him up this past college season. He attacked him, and I feel like NBA players will attack him too. Now, where he goes from here remains to be seen. And his height could be a bit of a factor. Now on to the Sporting Top 10 Stats Central. Now, Dennis Schroeder had averaged 19.4 points per game, 6.2 assists per game, and 3 rebounds. I don't really know what they're going to do with Schroeder at this point because, as you can see, they invested a lot of their future into Trae Young. I feel like Dennis Schroeder could maybe move to the shooting guard, and they have a good backcourt tandem there, but it remains to be seen. John Collins was a nice surprise last year. John Collins averaged 10.5 points per game, 7.3 rebounds per game at that power forward position. He could only grow. With superb athleticism, he will be a freak of nature. And Trae Young, out of Oklahoma, averaged 27.4 points per game and 8.7 assists per game. And he led the nation in both those statistics. Now, since they accumulated picks off of this, since this was the trade with the Mavericks, I give this pick an A-. And with the 6th overall pick in the 2018 draft, the Orlando Magic selected Mo Bamba out of Texas. Now, Mo Bamba's strengths include shot blocking, which he's second to none. He could come right into the league and be a Dikembe Mutombo type. He has great athleticism, and his wingspan is 7'9". He's just a freak of nature. His body type is the prototype for a great defender. His weaknesses include shooting, though. But honestly, with that size, that could be made up. And now on to the Sporting Top 10 Stats Central. Now, the perfect second-year option was Aaron Gordon out of Arizona. Aaron Gordon averaged 17.6 points per game. His game grew tremendously. I thought he was going to be a most improved player of the year candidate until Victor Oladipo came around. Nick Vucevic, it remains to be seen what they're going to do with him now that they drafted Mo Bamba. But if they pair up together in the backcourt, this will be a lethal tandem. Nick Vucevic averaged 16.5 points per game, 9.2 rebounds per game, 3.4 assists per game. They complement each other because the other guy does what the other guy can't. Nick Vucevic, his scoring in the post is fantastic, but he's not that great of a shot blocker. Mo Bamba, as you can see, averaged 3.7 blocks per game at Texas. He is just a freak of nature, and that's why this draft grade gets a B. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Sporting Top 10.